Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us again at City South Church for our online this summer. I want to play a little Would You Rather game. So if you're watching this with some people, maybe you want to put up your hand for which one you'd rather do or talk to each other about it. Or if you're just playing by yourself, make the decision. But I got 4 Would You Rathers. Would you rather suffer and be wise or be happy and ignorant? So what would you rather do? Suffer and be wise or happy and be ignorant? Here's another one. Would you rather live comfortably and be a shallow person, or go through pain and have a depth to your life? Which one would you rather? Would you rather have friends that give bad advice or no friends at all? So would you rather have friends that give bad advice or no friends at all? Okay, last one. Would you rather lose your wealth? You might be thinking, I'm not wealthy. Like lose all your possessions, basically. Would you rather lose all of your wealth, all your possessions, or lose your integrity? Which one would you rather? We're in the midst of a summer series where we're looking at different characters from the Old Testament. And we're just looking at their lives and things about them. But I say every Sunday, every time we get together, of these people are real people, real human beings. And so they had the struggles, the emotions, the hopes, the dreams for themselves, their families, all of that we have. And so we can't look at them as fictional characters, and we can't look at them as, perfect. We got to look at them as ordinary humans that are put in some remarkable situations, but interact with an extraordinary God. And what can we learn from these interactions? What can we learn from these people? And we're going to look at somebody that those would you rather questions, they actually had to choose between each and every one of those. Difficult choices. And we're going to look at Job. Probably one of the hardest books in the Bible to unpack and really discern. It's about 42 chapters. We're not going to read all 42 chapters. Just want to kind of highlight some of the story for you. Might be something you might want to, this summer even, just kind of take some time reading through. But Job, we find in the first 2 chapters of Job, it kind of opens up the story. And this is what we learn about Job. He's going to experience tragedies in his life, and not one of them is really his fault. It's this conversation between Satan and God deems Job worthy, and he will be able to withstand these tragedies. And so Satan is just putting the screws to him and making it difficult for him. And so we're kind of given this, a little bit of a behind the scenes look at it. Even though Job is clueless to all this and the spiritual warfare dynamic of it, us as readers, we know what's going on for Job. And so even though Job didn't, curse God in all these situations, he accepted the circumstances for what they're having. He definitely questions God, and we're going to get to that, but he doesn't curse God. And there's a difference to that. And so the beginning of Job, the first 2 chapters open up this kind of story of Satan challenging Job. I feel like a little bit like Job right now. It's starting to rain, but I'm going to keep going. These are the challenges of recording outside. But so we get this behind the scenes in the first 2 chapters of Job, and then it transitions to dialogue between Job and some companions. One companion is his wife, and then also he has 3 friends that he dialogues with. So the vast majority of the rest of the book of Job is these dialogues between Job and these 4 people. And Job's wife gets a bad reputation because she just implores Job, curse God and die. She is bitter. We got to recognize her bitterness, I think we would be too. All of her children die in a natural disaster. And so she is grieving, and she's questioning a God who would allow innocent people to suffer. We ask those same questions today, and they're fair questions to ask. I'm not going to get into the answer to that today. Maybe that's for another time. We're focusing more on Job's interaction with God and not God's interaction with Job. But many people, who have experienced suffering like that, have turned towards bitterness, like Job's wife. And part of the story of Job, what it's saying is there's another option. Instead of bitterness, we can turn this way. And then Job also has 3 friends that come and dialogue with him. And they start off good. They're good friends at the beginning. They sit and they just present with Job. They don't say much. They just listen. If you ever have a friend that's suffering or in a difficult time, this is the thing to do. Not to preach, not to have answers, not to talk, but to be present, to be quiet, to listen. Empathy should be like oozing from your pores. And Job's friends start off like that, and it's fantastic, but then they do something wrong. They open their mouths. They start to talk. And they start to say things that were probably common explanations of that day and age, but were actually false. The biggest thing they say to Job is they say, Job, look at what's happened to your life. Physically, you're ill. You got sores on your body. You've lost your possessions. Your family, your children have died. Obviously, it is your fault, Job. What did you do wrong? And us as readers, we know Job did nothing wrong. This is God saying, you know what? Job can handle this. He is worthy, and Satan just putting the screws to him. And Job responds basically saying, I didn't do anything. And they're like, no, you must have. You must be lying to us. And they keep pushing him and pushing him. We make mistakes like this all the time. We jump to accusations. We think we know it all. We think we know the answer to a problem. I find in our day and age of social media and Twitter, there's these complex issues that have multiple layers of complexity and nuance and people having different views and feelings and shades. And people think they can answer in a tweet. In a few characters, they can solve it all. They can explain it away. And maybe the posture that would be better is just to listen to all the different sides and to hear the complexity, to care for the people, to love them, to have empathy towards them. Not to solve the issue, not to defend a position, but to listen, to understand, and to love. I wonder how Job's situation would have been different if his friends would have operated more like that. And so ultimately, Job stops listening to his friends and he takes his beefs right to God. How often do we get to that point? Most of the time when we're in pain, we take it to others. But here Job, he's taking it to God. And when he goes to God, he has his questions, he has his frustrations. He's saying to God, look at, like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you doing this? Why are these things happening to me? I haven't sinned. I haven't done anything wrong. And he's asking God tough questions. And God very gently but firmly puts Job in his place. Basically saying to Job, I'm the creator, you're the creation. I was before time existed. You just need to trust me. And Job responds with saying basically, I get it, I got your perspective. And in Job chapter 42, verse 1 to 6, I want to read to you. This is Job saying to God, I get it. I get your perspective. I understand. And this is from the version called The Message. So this is Job talking to God. I'm convinced you can do anything and everything. Nothing and no one can upset your plans. You asked, who is this muddying the water, ignorantly confusing the issue, second guessing my purpose? Ignorantly confusing the issue. How often have we done that? We see our little perspective of our problem. We're like, God, what are you doing? And God's saying, I see the complete story here. I see the whole story. And you're fixated in this one little thing. Maybe this one little thing is to accomplish something greater. Second guessing my purposes. I admit it, I was the one. I babbled on about things far beyond me, made small talk about wonders way over my head. You told me, listen, and let me do the talking. Let me ask the questions. You give the answers. I admit, I once lived by rumors of you. Now I have it all firsthand, from my own eyes and ears. You know, I once lived by rumors of you. I went to other people. What do you think God is doing in this situation? What do you think God's trying to tell me? And Job's saying, no, I went straight to the source. I went to you, God, and asked you, God, what's going on? I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'll never do that again. I promise. I'll never again live on the crusts of hearsay, crumbs of rumors. In other words, Job's saying, I'm done going to others to try to figure out what you're doing in my life, God. I'm going to you, God. So when you feel like you are in turmoil and pain and questioning, do you go to God and say, God, what are you doing here? What are you trying to say to me? Are you trying to correct something? Are you trying to do something? What are you doing, God? And what we see in this last chapter of the book of Job is Job begins to understand his pain in a new way. He begins to see it not in a way of God punishing him, but sees it in a way of God speaking to him and shaping him, God directing him in a new direction. The story of Job shows us that instead of running away from our pain, we should be seeing what is God teaching us through our pain? Where is God leading us through the pain? Doesn't make the pain any less painful, but it changes the perspective of pain. We live in such a comfortable society that we see as pain as something to run away from. And what happens if pain and suffering is one of the tools in God's toolbox that He uses sometimes to kind of get our attention or to direct us? What happens if a little bit of pain for you ends up saving countless people? Would you rather? Would you rather go through a little pain to save countless people, or have a comfortable life and no one gets affected? Maybe that's what God's doing with the pain. But I want you, as we just kind of looked at the life of Job, maybe there is something there that can help you in the midst of your pain to show that maybe this isn't punishment. Maybe this isn't about because you did something wrong, but maybe the pain you're experiencing is because God says, you can handle it. You're worthy. I want to use you. I want to shape you and guide you. Why don't you go to God? Get on your knees and say, God, what are you doing here in this situation? Speak to me. In some way, I hope the story of Job actually can encourage you in the midst of your pain and suffering. I've scratched the surface. We could spend months on the story of Job and look at a lot of the questions and try to answer them that are looked at. But I hope this maybe whets your appetite for you to open up the book of Job this week and read a little bit more into it. If you want to know what's happening at City South Church this summer, just go to the website, citysouthchurch.com, and click the calendar, and you can see all sorts of things that are going to be happening throughout the weeks. Thank you so much, and we can see you next Sunday, either in person or online here. Have a great day.